My name is Rudy Wolansky Meier, and I'm part of Good Brick on Instagram. And what we have here is a sort of island conquest. I think that's the name of the mock itself. Originally, we registered it under historical, but because there wasn't enough space, we decided, since it's in English ship of the line, a frigate, that we might as well put it in the military section. And so far, it's worked pretty well. I'm really glad because this is our second year doing BrickFair, and we were lucky enough to get a nomination for
Congratulations.
Best Watercraft, and I'm really glad about that. We came upon this idea about a month or two ago, and really most of this took shape only a few days ago because the sales were very last minute. Same with a lot of the rigging was done this, I think, was it Friday? And we took a lot of inspiration from, I guess, all over the internet because this is our first time ever really building a ship at all, and our first time doing freeform as well. We have another smaller mock in front of here, which was kind of made out of all the leftover parts from the island. This one's way further in the future. We got World War II and then this sort of age of sailing diorama. The ensigns and such were taken from ships such as the HMS Victory, which of course is a man of war, which we might be planning on making in the future.
Well, that'd be great.
And same with a schooner, which is a much smaller ship, but it's going to take a lot more time because we won't be able to use those sort of prefabs on the bottom. I'm honestly just glad to be here, and I'm really glad that this took shape because I was starting to doubt that we'd really make it on time, but with a bit of gumption, we were able to get it all done. We also have a few custom weapons on the figures. A blunderbuss here, and I believe on this figure there's a wheel lock rifle. I make these all at home just because they're kind of fun. And the painting is tester paints. I've been told that there are a couple of better companies, so I'm definitely going to have to check them out, but I've always been a fan of the tester paints. They've got a really nice shine to them.
It really adds that extra level of detail.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping for. And I'm really glad because some people have noticed them, and it's a little far away, and that was another issue we came across, which has a bit of a funny fix to it. The tables here weren't actually even. They're two different types of tables, so we had to go all the way back there, ask for a couple of cardboard boxes. We ripped them up and we just put them underneath the table to make sure that the ship wouldn't tip, and that these studs, which we decided to use as water, are really easy but fun technique, and which works excellently, wouldn't also spill out and eventually leave this big gap of fabric.
You got to make those last minute changes sometimes.
Exactly.
So I know you mentioned this is kind of your first attempt at kind of free flowing here. Talk about that, kind of the island design, and when you're just you aren't really building on a base plate like this. How does that come together for you?
My friend, he's off in the distance now. I don't exactly remember what he went off to do, but he did a lot of the work on this island while I helped out a lot on the sort of extra piece there. The freeforming, what we did was we created one layer on a table first, a sort of outline, and from there he filled it in part by part, starting kind of like this with more plates, and eventually he started stacking up a second layer of bricks, mainly these longer pieces which would connect them all together, and then some 1x2s and the 2x2 corner pieces which help it stick together and not fall apart. The issue with freeform is that it can be a little weak on these sort of edges right here where it's held by one stud and it can come off pretty easily. But after the first and second layer are done, it leaves a very nice and firm base plate, I guess you could say, where we just decided to layer more and more above it. And I think the thing we had the most difficulty with was this sort of rock work here. It's only our second time doing rock work, and to do this sort of elevated area, sort of a pathway, was a tad hard. It took us a while to get the general shape to look very natural, which can be a bit. It can be very hard. It's almost discouraging sometimes, but if you just push through, eventually you get used to it, and you can see it come together. At first, it might not look great, but it came out wonderfully, I think.
Yeah, I think the final product turned out very nice. You've also got the incredible ship over here, so talk about kind of how you built that, the whole section, and kind of how that came together.
So these sections are held together by, the prefabs are held together by Technic pins. Well, I believe there are some, here, I think I can actually open it up by removing the masts. Now the masts are held together pretty tightly by these pieces here, but let me see if I can get this to open up. By lifting this up and just kind of removing these, I can loosen this back mast here. I can't remember anything for the life of me right now. There we go. And this might be a tad of a mess to get to fix in a bit, but it'll be worth it to kind of show off this interior. It's very bare bones, but it might help with getting the sort of idea to make sense. That can be fixed in a moment.
Got a lot of strings there.
Oh, yeah, that took a while. There you see the sort of columns, and this underneath section, this section down here of the interior. It's very, how do you say it? It's not it's not entirely brick built, but it's got a lot of the harder pieces in there. So most of it is bricks, but then there are some points where we were able to get these sort of storage rooms in.
Yeah, you got a lot of space, like big enough for a minifig to fit down there.
Oh yeah, big enough for cannons, but we weren't able to get enough cannons made because we were using this sort of hard to find camera piece for the end of it. But all of these little flaps at the end open up to these cannon ports. And as you can see here, right there, that's all bricks to keep those prefabs together and firm without wobbling or coming together. It's a very sturdy piece. You could probably shake it around, and the only thing you'd be risking are these masts. But once you tie them down with the string, they get really sturdy. As you saw, I had a lot of trouble getting it off. And we hope to add a lot of tiles and such on this section and maybe glamour it up a bit. Even though it's not visible, it's always nice.
Yeah, for sure. That's that extra level of detail. And what did you make the sails from?
Just a sort of canvas fabric. I think it's mainly wool and, or not wool, cotton and polyester. We just kind of went by a sort of fabric place and bought about 2 yards of it. Since I didn't know how much I'd need, we measured out the masts, the yards and such, to find out how long they had to be. We did have an issue with one of the jibs in the front where it was too long, so we had to sacrifice one of the 3. So that's why we only have 2. And we decided to do this sort of pattern in the front because on a lot of these ships, there are these sort of meshes where they're folded on top of each other continually to make it very strong and sturdy. And we just used 2 different types of sewing machines, one for this pattern and one for the edges, that way it wouldn't fall apart. The fabric should be pretty sturdy, so we shouldn't have any issue with that. I think if anything, the biggest issue might be these strings, which hopefully we can redo and have it look a lot better next year. Always bigger and better.
No, that's you learn by doing it, and you can always improve. But this is a great layout here. I really appreciate you kind of showing us the inside there and seeing how it all came together. So thank you so much.
Of course, it was a pleasure.